Hey everyone, I'm Jaden,
And I'm Noah.
and we are the Super Gamer Bros, and this is the Super Gamer Bros podcast. We're just a couple of brothers who love playing games and love talking about games, so that's what we do. And today, Noah, uh, is very. I'm excited for this episode all around. We are talking about Star Wars: The Force Unleashed.
Star Wars The Force Unleashed. The first time we got to play as a Sith, as a protagonist in a Star Wars game. Some could argue you could in Battlefront 2's story, but I'm talking about for like the majority of the game. And The Force Unleashed is truly the greatest Star Wars experience for anybody who wants to play as a Sith. There is simply no better game than Star Wars The Force Unleashed.
I think I do have to agree with you on that. I've always looked at it. It's funny. I've always looked at kind of Star Wars as I think, especially recently, of it gets one really solid action adventure title per console generation. Obviously, with the PS4, Xbox One, it was Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. If you look in kind of the older PS2, GameCube era, I feel like it was they had a few like the Jedi Knight series. Like the original Xbox had KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic. You know, like once a generation, I feel like is when you get that stellar Star Wars game. And for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, it was The Force Unleashed. Although that did release on older consoles as well, but I think it's very much cemented with that generation.
I mean, right. There's not really much more to say about it for me. It's definitely cemented
Uh,
as one of my top three Star Wars games of all time.
yep, it was. I feel probably should say we initially played it on the Wii back when it first came out. Absolutely loved it on the Wii. I had so much fun with it, and yeah, I mean this was our first, as you said, our first foray into like a Star Wars, like lightsaber focused game, because our previous Star Wars experience really could just be boiled down to Lego Star Wars and Battlefront 2, the original Battlefront 2, which, you know, that was more a shooter than a lightsaber combat game. So we were definitely hooked, I'd say, from the instant this game was announced. And let's go ahead and get into it with the setting. In Star Wars: The Force Unleashed, you explore several locations in the Star Wars universe, including Kashyyyk, Felucia, Raxus Prime, Cloud City, the Death Star, a TIE Factory, and ISS Empirical, which is a Star Destroyer, I believe. I actually could not find anything that said that.
These are fantastic locations for this game. I mean, Kashyyyk and Felucia are two of the most beautiful maps in the game. And they have some of the most interesting enemies, specifically Felucia. Um, and all of these locations, they tie back to the original franchise. So this entire game's story, its setting, it's all deeply set in the canon of Star Wars.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. I do have a question. I don't know the answer to this, but I figured you would. Is this game still considered canon?
I believe that this game is not considered canon anymore, but I do want to look that up really quick. So,
Okay.
Vamp.
Yeah. Also, as Noah's looking that up, this game also it does a I don't know a interesting thing where you actually explore every location, at least most locations. Kashyyyk, Felucia, and Raxus Prime are kind of your big three. You go to twice. You go to them first as you are hunting down Jedi, and then you go to them again as you are now trying to recruit for the rebellion. And when you go the second time, they are like completely taken over. Like when you go the first time, they are, you know, wild, or, you know, in the midst of fighting the Empire. And when you go the second time, usually at this point, they have been taken over by the Empire, and you are now basically undoing all the work you did when you went there in the first place.
We'll
Which
get
I,
to that.
yeah, and I just thought that was a pretty unique,
It's a
uh,
great story
yeah,
and a great way to make the same map feel fresh.
yeah, there are changes. You know, you fight different enemies, obviously, and yeah, fun times.
Oh, it is not canon, by the way.
It is not canon. That's kind of upsetting. Anyway, yeah, that's the setting. Noah, did you have anything to add on that? I think it's pretty standard Star Wars stuff.
No, it is pretty
Um,
standard Star Wars stuff. I would say the only place, like, a Time Factory and ISS Empirical are pretty, like, bland places. They're not very, stylish,
mhm,
right? But something like Raxus Prime, not a lot of people know about Raxus Prime. So that's a really cool planet to have in here because all the other ones are very familiar to even, like,
mhm.
light Star Wars fans.
Yeah, and I also did want to say here that this game, Star Wars Force Unleashed, is not like an open world game or semi-open world game the way that what's it called? I'm spacing out. Oh, Fallen Order is. Fallen Order, you can go anywhere. I mean, provided you have the powers, because that is a thing. You can go anywhere at any point and explore freely. Force Unleashed is a lot more linear.
Yeah, it is. I would describe it as a linear story-based third-person beat 'em up, really.
I honestly feel like the best way I could describe it, I actually thought kind of coincident. We always do, I feel like by coincidence, similar games back to back, where I feel like exploration wise, like when you're just playing the game, it's very God of War, like the original God of War in how the maps slash progression is set up.
I can see that.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Now we're going to talk about story. So, shortly into the Galactic Empire's rule, Imperial spies locate a Jedi survivor of the Great Purge named Kento Merrick on Kashyyyk. Darth Vader arrives and defeats Merrick in a battle. Shortly before Merrick's son, Galen, grabs Vader's lightsaber with the Force. Realizing the boy's strong connection to the Force, Vader kills Merrick and leaves with Galen, raising him to become his apprentice in secret. Years later, an adult Galen, am I pronouncing that right?
Yep.
Okay. Just got really worried about that. An adult Galen, given the alias Starkiller, completes his training. He is sent by Vader to eliminate several Jedi survivors across the galaxy in preparation for assassinating the Emperor so that the two of them can rule the galaxy together. I'll go ahead pause there. One, Starkiller, great name. Disney cut this out of canon, but they kept the name because they knew how cool it was.
Yeah, but this origin story is really cool. I mean, becoming Vader's apprentice and living in secret and plotting against the Emperor. But I, as a Star Wars fan, don't like it because it's against the rule of two.
Of course. Obviously, when we played this game, I don't know how new this group of people that I'm about to say is in being introduced, but is very much kind of Inquisitor vibes with his whole, hunting Jedi across the galaxy and stuff.
That's a great point. Maybe he was
Like an
inspiration for the
inspiration.
Inquisitors, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know how new the Inquisitors are. Like, were they something old that was reintroduced as canon, or were they something
No, I'm
new?
pretty sure they were made with Rebels.
Yeah, so yeah, maybe they are. Yeah, maybe this was maybe a way slight inspiration for that because yeah, definitely some Inquisitor vibes there. Anyway, so Starkiller travels aboard his personal ship, the Rogue Shadow, alongside training droid Proxy and Imperial pilot Juno Eclipse. Starkiller's targets include Ram Koda, a Clone Wars veteran and leader of a militia, Kazdan Paratus, a Jedi driven insane after years of isolation on Raxus Prime, and Shock T, who is hiding on Felucia. And Noah, I think we're big Shock T fans.
I love Shock T. I thought this was crazy. Did you know there's a deleted scene in episode 3
Where she gets
with
killed by
Shock
Grievous.
T? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Tragic. But no, this was a really cool cameo because Ram Koda and Kazdan Paratus were original Jedi for this game. They were not in anything Star Wars previous, but obviously Shock T is one of the main Jedi in canon.
Yeah, we big Shock T fans, as I said. Anyway, so as they duel, Coda senses that Vader will not always be Starkiller's master, and that he, referring to Coda, will be part of Starkiller's future before being blinded by his own lightsaber and falling to his seeming death. Before she dies, Shock T warns Starkiller that he will be betrayed by Vader eventually. So after his final mission is complete, Starkiller is summoned by Vader as the Emperor arrives. Vader then swiftly impales Starkiller and, at the Emperor's insistence, hurls his apprentice through a window into space to prove his loyalty.
Awesome scene.
Bullshit scene. I hated it.
I loved it. I thought it's just cool to see all these Sith interacting because
Uh,
that's literally my favorite part of Star
yeah,
Wars.
yeah.
But I did want to say something about something you said a second ago. Well, I wanted to point out that Coda being blinded with his own lightsaber, becoming blind and a blind Jedi master and teaching Starkiller, that is also
Oh,
there's also a
Rebels.
parallel to that in Rebels. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
wanted to point that out since we're doing that.
That's it. That's very interesting. A lot of parallels here that I'm noticing.
Yeah. But hey, Rebels is good and this is good, so
Anyway, uh, unbeknownst to the Emperor, Vader has Starkiller recovered and resuscitated. Vader sends Starkiller to foster a rebellion among the Empire's enemies as part of his plan to create the proper conditions to overthrow the Emperor. Starkiller rescues Juno, who had been arrested and branded a traitor to the Empire, and escapes with her and Proxy. Looking for allies to aid his mission, Starkiller finds an alive Coda on Cloud City, rendered blind and reduced to alcoholism, and rescues him from Imperial forces. The group travels to Kashyyyk to locate Coda's contact, Senator Bail Organa. What? Starkiller discovers his old home and meets his father's spirit, who expresses remorse for Starkiller's upbringing under Vader. To gain Bail's trust, Starkiller rescues his captive daughter, Princess Leia Organa. What? And liberates the enslaved Wookiees at her request. She gets captured a lot.
yeah, it's a good plot device.
Yeah. Starkiller learns from Coda that Bail went missing on Felucia, and after searching for Shock T in the hope she would rescue Leia, Starkiller travels to Felucia to find Bail, discovering he has been captured by Shark T's former apprentice, Maris Brood.
You just called her Shark T.
I said Shock.
I definitely heard Shark.
I said I'm gonna
You'll have
listen
to
to this.
listen
I'm gonna
to it.
listen to
Yeah,
this. I'm
that's
gonna let you know.
funny.
If I did, I'm cutting it out, and if I didn't, I'm keeping this in so you look like an idiot. God damn it. Starkiller travels to Felucia to find Bail, discovering he had been captured by Shock T's former apprentice, Maris Brood, who succumbed to the dark side after her master's death. Starkiller defeats Brood, but spares her life and convinces Bail to join the rebellion.
Really cool.
Yeah,
I
you didn't
love
need.
how all the Jedi are eradicated and there's so many Force users out here.
Yeah.
I like that there's really not as much in Fallen Order. They only had the Inquisitors and Cal and then that one weird rogue
Oh,
Sith or whatever.
Terran Malicos.
Yeah, he was
The the
completely fabricated.
yeah, the Jedi with like the most evil sounding name you'll ever hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think it's funny every time that I guess Disney at this point creates a new story that takes place in between, like episodes 3 and 4. It always just makes the stormtroopers look worse cuz man, they did not kill every Jedi like they were supposed to.
Right.
It's just like
Obi-Wan, and then I also think that Obi-Wan and Yoda called it really early. They're
yeah.
like, well, I guess it's just us.
Yeah.
I'm going to Dagobah.
To convince more dissidents to do the same, Vader suggests that Starkiller attack a Star Destroyer facility on Raxus Prime to show that the Empire is vulnerable. Juno learns Starkiller is serving Vader and chastises him, but agrees to keep silent. On Raxus Prime, Starkiller is attacked by Proxy, who attempts to fulfill his programming by killing Starkiller, but Starkiller defeats Proxy. Starkiller destroys the facility and pulls a falling Star Destroyer out of the sky using the Force.
That's actually the single greatest ever recorded feat
The single
of Force
greatest
powers.
ever recorded feat of Force powers in Star Wars history. That's it, right there.
I mean, in shows, movies, or games.
Visually is what you're referring to. Yeah.
Yeah, visually true.
Yeah.
In books, they have like people who can absorb stars and stupid crap like that.
Yeah, it gets wild in the books, but Bail Organa meets with fellow senators Mon Mothma and Garm Bel Iblis on Corellia to formally organize a rebellion, only for Vader to arrive and arrest them and Coda. After overpowering Starkiller, Vader reveals that he was merely a tool to lure out the Empire's enemies, and had never intended to use him to overthrow the Emperor. Starkiller escapes after Proxy sacrifices himself by attacking Vader. Yeah, there's so many double crosses in The Force Unleashed.
It is very hard to keep up with, who's on whose side. And the problem is that Starkiller trusts Vader absolutely.
Yeah, which is dumb. Anyway, Juno rescues Starkiller, who uses the Force to see that Coda and the Senators are being held on the Death Star. After bidding farewell to Juno, Starkiller battles his way through the station to reach the Emperor's throne room. Vader confronts him, but Starkiller defeats his former master and faces the Emperor, who tries to goad him into killing Vader so Starkiller can take his place. Coda tries to attack the Emperor, but is subdued with Force lightning. At this point, the player must choose between saving Coda or killing Vader, the light side and dark side endings. If the player chooses the light side, Starkiller defeats the Emperor but spares him at Coda's urging. The Emperor unleashes Force Lightning at Coda, but Starkiller absorbs it, sacrificing himself to allow Coda and the Senators to escape on the Rogue Shadow. The Emperor and Vader become concerned that Starkiller has become a martyr to inspire the newly formed Rebel Alliance. On Kashyyyk, the Senators proceed with the rebellion and Leia chooses Starkiller's family crest as their symbol. Coda tells Juno that among Starkiller's dark thoughts, Juno herself was one bright spot that he held on to right until his death. If the player chooses the dark side, Starkiller kills Vader and is congratulated by the Emperor, who commands him to kill Coda to sever his ties to the Jedi and become a Sith Lord. Starkiller instead attacks the Emperor, who foils his attempts, and then crushes him with the Rogue Shadow, severely injuring Starkiller and killing Juno, Coda, and the Senators. Starkiller later awakens to find his body being grafted with armor to continue serving the Emperor, though the Emperor assures Starkiller that he will be replaced once the Emperor finds a new apprentice, just as Vader before him. I have to be very honest here. I think the two endings thing is stupid.
Yeah, I never like it very much in games,
Yeah.
but there's definitely obviously this is a good and a bad ending. Like,
Mhm.
this is very black and white. I wish it was like, he just was fine and didn't get injured and become just like Darth Vader. Like that part doesn't make sense to me.
Well, the part that I don't like is that there's even a choice at all because there is nothing in this game before this that really has an effect on anything, right? Like, am I just not remembering something?
No, I think you're right.
Like, you don't play.
You don't have a choice of killing any
Yeah,
of the Jedis or
like,
anything like that.
yeah, like, compare it to like Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy that we did as an indie bit over a year ago at this point. In that, you, there are several instances where you can choose to do the good thing or the bad thing up until the ending. So having a good and bad ending in that game makes sense. It's more RPG like. But in The Force Unleashed, there's nothing there. Like, yeah, you can, I guess, choose to maybe kill more enemies or something. I it's just feels like a weirdly shoehorned in thing of, oh, you can be evil if you want. It's weird. I didn't like it. I guess the
I
one
get
flaw.
that, but in the marketing, being evil became like a huge aspect of the game.
You're correct, but then you're not really that evil in the end anyway. It's a thing in any Star Wars property or work that usually when someone becomes a Jedi Master, like I feel like the big difference between say a Jedi Knight and a Jedi Master is the point where someone becomes a Jedi Master is when they come face to face with the dark side and they choose light. If you look at Fallen Order with like Cal Kestis, he kind of goes through that similar thing. Or if you look at like a Jedi Knight Jedi Academy, where your main character kind of has that similar decisions throughout all the way up until the end of the game. And so I feel like that's kind of what they were going for here. But again, there's not really anything there that leads me to believe that that was a necessary decision.
I get that.
So that was the story, Noah. Let's move on to the gameplay.
Right. So to begin the gameplay, we're obviously going to talk about the combat. The Force Unleashed is a third-person action game in which the player's character's weapons are the Force and a lightsaber. The game has a combo system for string lightsaber attacks and for combining lightsaber attacks with Force powers. Experience points earned by killing enemies and finding artifacts can be used to increase Starkiller's powers and traits. The gameplay is intended to be easy to learn. The development team included horrible gamers to help ensure the game's accessibility. Players can casually run and gun through the game, but the game rewards those who take a stealthy, more tactical approach. The game includes enemies that are easy to overcome. Game difficulty arises from presenting these enemies in large numbers that can wear down the player's character. Additionally, enemies learn from the player character's attacks. using the same attack on different characters can sometimes lead to the player doing less damage. Yeah, that is a system designed to encourage you to have a combo chain where you're switching between the different methods of attack in the game. I actually like this. It is easy to learn, hard to master, which I think is a great system for a Star Wars game.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in and say I included that quote of the development team included, quote, horrible gamers to help ensure the accessibility, because I just found that hilarious.
That is funny.
Yeah, no, I also, as you said, I like the enemies learning from the player's attacks, because too often in games that have different combos like that, especially as the combos get harder and more complex, I just button mash. I find one combo that works really well, and I'll just use that same combo over and over. And 90% of games do not penalize you for doing so, which is why I do it. So I do like when games actually require you to use different combos, different moves, because it forces me to do that.
Completely agree.
Hmm.
Okay, so the force powers in the game are force choke, lightsaber throw, force lightning, push, grip, and repulse. These are pretty standard and they're honestly implemented very well in this game. Even on the Wii version, the control of the force is pretty astounding. You can lightning, choke, throw the lightsaber, push, do whatever, and it's all seamless. So
Yeah.
there, oh,
Sorry, I thought you were pausing for me to talk. I was going to say what you're saying, so go ahead.
so there is one force power exclusive to each version of the game. For the 360 and the PS3, Star Killer can use Lightning Shield, which I never used. And for the Wii version, Star Killer can use Force Maelstrom, which is far superior.
Yeah, just to do a quick explanation of maybe the powers that people might not understand by name. Force grip is just picking stuff up, like levitation. Force repulse is like I'm trying to think of a game that has a similar attack where it's basically like like one of those attacks where like you curl into a ball and blast out a wave of energy that like pushes enemies back, does damage. That is what force repulse is, and force maelstrom is just a stronger version of that. So that's what those three powers are. The rest anyone should know, I would hope. I just wanted to get that out there.
Star Killer can only use Force Choke on the Wii version. He
Yeah,
can't on the PS3.
that is correct. In the PS3, Xbox 360, only Darth Vader can.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Hmm. Yeah, we'll actually talk about that a little bit later, something I had included. Yeah. And then just I not really much to say about traversal. It's like God of War, as I said, you little platforming and you just go
Running and
around these
jumping.
areas running and jumping, man. Okay, so now we'll talk about our additional gameplay mechanics. So there's not a lot to Star Wars: The Force Unleashed. Sort of. We'll get into that later. First, there's the training room where you have challenges and combat modules. Challenges test your force powers. Every time you unlock a new force power, you can do training, and then after you do the training for it, you unlock the challenge. And basically, you have like a limited amount of force that you can use, so you have to use your power strategically to do whatever the challenge requires of you. And then modules basically test your skills against different types of enemies, and that's those. Did not really do these a lot when we played the game initially on the Wii version, so I can't comment, I guess, on anything specific to the Wii version. On the PS3, it's like I did them, but a bit.
No, I don't really find these entertaining a lot in games.
Yeah, I did them once on the PS3 version, and I did not particularly enjoy them. Yeah, that's that. That's those. They're there. There's something to do.
Wasn't there a versus mode?
Oh, we'll get to that later.
Okay, I didn't know if you had that here or somewhere
Mhm.
else.
No, I do. Collectibles. So you have your holocrons. They give you they're collectible. They give you experience points that you use for upgrading your powers. Yeah, sorry, that's those. And then obviously, one of the best collectibles in any game of all time, Kyber crystals. You just find floating Kyber crystals. That there are two types: color crystals, which change the color of your blade; power crystals, which add a bonus effect to your blade. Then also, you can get different hilts on the Wii version only. And I will actually pause for a second. When in this podcast we reference the Wii version of the game, this is something I forgot to say. The Wii, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation Portable games are all identical in the story aspects of the game. So the Force Choke you can do on the PlayStation 2 and PSP version as Starkiller, along with the Wii version. And with the hilts, you get them on the Wii, PS2, PSP versions, but not the PS3 and 360. That is just a note that is important. Obviously, the crystals were awesome. There were usually 3 different types of each color. Like there'd be one, like the normal color, one that's like strained, kind of like a Kylo Ren, what's that word, like not as well controlled,
Unstable.
his unstable, that's it. And a third one that I am totally blanking on, but there are 3. I know that from looking it up. Obviously, all the different lightsaber colors, Noah, awesome.
Yeah, this is a really cool touch and attention to detail by the team because at this point, the different kinds of kyber crystals had not been introduced into mainstream Star Wars, and they hadn't until Kylo Ren, really. So I always thought that was really cool that they did that.
Yeah, and even just, I mean, there are a lot of different colors. We loved it, man. Like this was like it filled our crave for weird lightsaber colors that we have had since Jedi Outcast, because really I can only name 3 games where you can have outrageous lightsaber colors.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
it is awesome. The more colors, the better.
Yeah, more colors are always better. And I think if I remember correctly, at least on the Wii version, it's been a while since we played it, you could also have white and black. So like a dark saber and then just a straight white lightsaber.
That is a thing now in Rebels.
Oh yeah, but it was at the time, it was not something we had seen before. Now, something that we have never had to talk about in our podcast, but is very prevalent in Star Wars: The Force Unleashed because it came out on so many different consoles. Version differences. This came out on a lot of things, and it came out like it was a cross-generation game. It came out on the PlayStation 2, PlayStation Portable, and the Wii, and then it came out on the PS3 and Xbox 360. And as I had said previously, the PlayStation 2 and PSP versions are identical in content to the Wii version, and those are different from the PS3 and Xbox 360 versions due to these systems not being as powerful. That's as simple as it gets. Additionally, since the old generation versions do not support or use downloadable content, the developers, I'll say LucasArts, pretty cool thing, they exclusively intersperse certain levels with 3 of the 5 Jedi trials that Starkiller completes at the Jedi Temple in the Coruscant DLC to further hone his abilities. So this Coruscant level was DLC for the PS3 and Xbox 360 versions of the game, but in the Wii, PS2, PSP versions, they just exist in the game. Which, let me tell you, Noah, years ago, we played this game at launch on the Wii. Didn't play it for years, then eventually got it on the PlayStation 3 and played it again. I can't tell you how confused I was when I did not go to Coruscant. Because I was like, that's a thing you do. I remember doing that, and it did not exist in the PS3 version of the game.
That's funny. I don't even remember going to Coruscant.
I absolutely, because in it, there's like this like Sith chick that's following you, and I remember you fighting her, and I had no idea. Like, I can remember it so well, that section of the game, and I remember playing it on the PS3 and being like, dude, where's that? I know you did that. I'm so sure, and thinking I was just insane. And then when I was making the document for this episode, reading this and being like, got it. That's what it was. It's a fantastic thing I think they did of including that for free on the older versions of the game, just to give them a little something. Anyway, the PSP version, also exclusively only on the PSP version, features 5 additional historical bonus levels that reenact pivotal scenes and duels throughout the Star Wars saga, as well as special scenarios that can be played with as different Star Wars characters who have the same abilities in the standard single-player mode. Again, like I can't tell you anything about this because we didn't play the PSP version of this game, and it's something I did not know existed until I was
that
making.
Sounds really cool, though.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I was making this document yesterday. I was like, man, that sounds awesome. Got nothing else to say about it. Very interesting. Anyway, then the Wii and handheld versions support multiplayer. The PSP and Wii are the only ones with multiplayer. So Noah, We did. You did have two players duel against each other as famous Jedi and Sith in the Star Wars saga in the Wii version, while the handheld version utilized wireless multiplayer for a 4-player battle mode. So Noah, we did do that on the Wii.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it is not on the PS3 or Xbox 360 versions.
Yeah, that's lame.
And I can't figure out why. It's like I get maybe putting it on the Wii version because you feel bad because it's not as powerful, but why would you also just put it on the more powerful console? Surely they could handle it. No, we absolutely dueled each other a lot when we had the game on the Wii. And honestly, playing the PS3 version and the Wii version, I honestly have to say, even though it has been well over a decade since I played the Wii version, so I'm sure there is some nostalgia and the fact that it's just so long ago that maybe I'm not remembering how, any issues with it. I feel like I can say I enjoyed the Wii version of the game more. There's just with the multiplayer stuff and the extra stuff in the story that you don't need to buy DLC for. There's just more there.
Yeah, I completely agree. The Wii version is just far superior.
Yeah. And again, I can't comment on how good or bad the motion controls are because it's been so long since I've played it. So it's like if I played the Wii version today, I very decent chance I would absolutely hate it. But as I sit here as I am now, I have to say thumbs up to the Wii version. Anyway, so that's the version differences. Noah, what'd you think? What'd you think? What did you think of that? That's something we've never really talked about before or had to, I think.
Yeah, that's something that used to happen a lot in games. You remember back in like the mid 2000s, late 2000s, early 2010s or so. A lot of games would come out like, "Oh, if you play it on the PS3, you can use Yoda, but if you play it on the 360, you get Darth Vader." It's cool and it's adding characters kind of, but it's also limiting everybody.
Yeah,
So I
it's
think that's why we phased it out.
yeah. I
And it's
like
also more
how
work for the developers.
I also like how I'll go ahead and give you praise for your Soul Calibur 4 reference, while also pointing out your mistake of you had them swapped. Yoda was on the 360 version, Vader was on the PS3 version.
Ah, it also
Yeah.
had Star Killer.
Yes, it did. I forgot about that. Oh man, I completely forgot about that. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, I know recently, we could talk more recently, that Marvel's Avengers is doing that because Spider-Man as DLC is only available on the PlayStation versions of the game. And let me tell you, when that was announced, people were not happy about it.
That's true, but that game is garbage anyway.
Well, I mean, that's, I suppose, a fair assessment, Noah. Anyway, and that's, yeah, I just, interesting. It was when I was just, looking up the information, making this document, I thought, man, I have to include a section for this because there's so much different in these versions. So yeah, we'll go ahead and move on to notable trophies. There are none. Star Wars: The Force Unleashed is like Horizon Zero Dawn, where the trophies are just what you did. Like there are a lot of stories, a lot of story related trophies, a lot of like kill 100 enemies with force push, kill 500 enemies with force push, kill 100 enemies with lightning, kill 500 enemies with lightning. A lot of just stuff like that. That is a bulk of the trophy list is doing different things like that. And the only trophy I guess that is somewhat notable, I will go ahead and say, is it's called like worst day shift manager ever, which is you get for killing 12 stormtroopers as Darth Vader on Kashyyyk in the prologue. That I remember seeing a video about somewhere that it is a reference to like I think it was like an internet short or maybe a little short internet series of Darth Vader working as like a day shift manager at like a little store. Like,
That is funny because I definitely killed stormtroopers as Darth Vader.
yeah, yeah, I can't comment at all about like his as far as I never verified that story, so I don't even know if it's correct, but I assume it is. And it references a thing that neither of us have ever seen. And aside from the video I saw about this game's trophy that mentioned it, there's absolute like I wouldn't know it existed, so there's not really much I can say about it. Favorite moments, Noah.
My favorite moment is the moment when Star Killer pulls the destroyer
It
from the
is a
sky.
it is a very cool moment.
Yeah, I mean it just wrecks a whole portion of like buildings and city as it's dragging its way to you, and he's just completely controlling this gigantic ship.
Yeah. Yeah,
That
really
is
cool.
Star Wars.
No, that is Star Wars. I'm gonna say the opening where you play as Darth Vader. You play as Darth Vader, man. It doesn't get cooler than that.
Yeah, that is kind of one of the best parts of the game.
Yeah, it's what see because The Force Unleashed is one of those games. It's a thing that several games do where you play. In reference, no, the Legend of Korra game does this, where you start out with everything, powers, max level, everything, and then you lose it all for one reason or another. Like either you go back in time, or in this game, you're playing as an apprentice now. But it's a game that's like, hey, this can be you in a few hours, and it gives you a taste, just a little taste of how much you'll be able to just wreck shit in the future. I usually like when games do that, and this is one of them, man. You're playing as Darth Vader, you're choking Wookiees. There's nothing better than that.
Yeah, no, it was a great section of game, and you just
Yeah.
felt like a menacing, imposing figure.
Yeah, it's like if you want to talk about the three most intense, scary, oh my god, this guy is so powerful Vader moments, it's Vader's appearance in Fallen Order, Vader's appearance in Rogue One, and the beginning of Star Wars: The Force Unleashed. And that's the list.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So, favorite boss battle?
Favorite boss battle, Noah?
Mine is Darth Vader. It was what the whole game was leading up to was Starkiller's fight with Darth Vader. Because Darth Vader is going to turn on him, and it's not going to end well for Starkiller because he's not in anything else, right? When that's the problem when you try to fit everything in canon, is we know how everything is going to end, or what's going to happen, or how it has to fit. That being said, the fight was a lot of fun. It involved a lot of force, a lot of lightsaber. The quick time events in this game, which we didn't mention, are really what made the cinematic moments of the fight shine to me.
Yeah, we did not mention those. The quick time events were very good in this game. I have to agree with you.
Jaden?
My favorite, kind of one or the other, Shaak Ti or Maris Brood. The two fights you have on Felucia. Shaak Ti. Yeah, we're Shaak Ti fans. I love Shaak Ti. Great fight, great character. And Maris Brood, who is, Shaak Ti's apprentice that turns to the Sith after she dies. Like when you come back and you end up fighting her, because she does appear earlier in the game, like a tiny bit when you first get to Felucia and Shaak Ti is alive and tells her to hide and stuff. And then you come back and she's evil now, and you fight her. And I just I don't remember what it I can't even remember what it was exactly. Just when we first played the game and got to that boss fight, I was just blown away by it. I absolutely loved it.
I completely agree. I think all the boss fights were done really well in this game.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. What we didn't like about the game, Noah.
I got nothing. This is, like I said, one of my favorite Star Wars games of all time. Maybe my only complaint now would be that it's a little dated. Time for a reboot.
Um,
I mean, a trequel.
wouldn't it be threequel?
It's Alvin and the Squeakquel.
But what does that have to do with? You said trequel though. What does that have to do with?
Nothing. Never mind. Continue.
Am I not getting this?
I don't have anything to complain about.
All right. I said it before. I think the whole ending decision is kind of dumb. That really is probably my only really big complaint with the game. Yeah, that's it, man. That's the one thing that every time I think about playing that game, I think, like that. Why is that there? That doesn't have to exist. And then replayability. Noah?
Yeah, I would say this is replayable.
You would not say this is a beat and delete?
No, because if you're not like collecting anything, you can beat this game relatively quickly, and all of the fights are entertaining in terms of the gameplay and the visuals, cinematics. So it's a great on a return.
I'll agree. It helps that I really just the more we talk about it, the more I very much have to compare this game to the original God of War, which, as I had said in that episode, which, if you haven't listened to our last episode, we talk about God of War. When we had this game on the Wii, we didn't have a lot of games. So I absolutely on the Wii played this game over and over again. And then when I got it like years later, we got it on the PS3 and I played through it and I beat it and I was like, man, that was fun, but I'm not done. I want to do more of this gameplay. So I, started it again. It's good and it's short, so that it's one of those, like, there are some songs, Noah, we want to talk about music real quick, that I always think to myself, like, man, I love this song, it's too short. I wish there was more of it. And this is like the game aspect of that, where I never finish it and think, man, I'm satisfied with that gameplay. I'm ready to move on to something else. I always want more.
Yeah, another game I feel like that is the Batman games.
I have to completely agree with you with the Arkham games there, man. Yeah. Anyway,
Yes. So that's
yeah,
Star Wars.
yeah, that's Star Wars: The Force Unleashed. Oh, actually, no, it's not. Let's talk about DLC real quick. So there are three DLC levels for the game. The first one was the Coruscant DLC we talked about earlier. Depicts Starkiller heading to the Jedi Temple to learn more about his identity and his connection to the Force. He fights Imperial security forces. He reaches the old council chambers. He meets his father's spirit. He passes trials. And his father implores him to return to the light side of the Force, and then Starkiller goes back to the Rogue Shadow to continue his current mission. I feel like, again, the fact that this is DLC, I felt like this was a big part of his whole character arc in the Wii version. So it was, again, weird on the PS3 version having this not be there.
Yeah, to me, it sounds like it was just all about charging more money for it.
Yeah, it's certainly, I feel like, a big aspect of, because really in the game, there's not really much that prompts him, I feel like, to go from good to evil, like not too much. Like it's there, but again, it's like there could be more, and the Coruscant DLC was that more. Like when I played the PS3 version again, like it certainly feels like it should have just been in the game. And then the Tatooine and Hoth DLC, they're set during alternate depictions of A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back, the movies that those places are from, and they present Starkiller as the Emperor's trusted assassin, referred to as Lord Starkiller, available on the Ultimate Sith edition of Star Wars: The Force Unleashed on PS3. We didn't play them. I have seen playthrough of them. Any other just like fun little side stories where you go and attack, fight characters from the movie and stuff?
No, I mean, I've definitely watched them. They're really cool, but I have not played them myself either.
Correct. And then final thoughts. I feel like we went through that already because I forgot the DLC section was a thing. So that's Star Wars: The Force Unleashed. Right, Noah?
Great game.
Great game. And now we're going to move on to the indie bit, the bit where we talk about indie games.
Yay.
Today, Noah, I'm so excited for this one. We are talking about Ace Attorney Trilogy. So the Ace Attorney Trilogy, for anyone who didn't know, a trilogy of games released in the early to mid 2000s on, the first game was actually originally released on the Game Boy, but then re-released on the DS, and the two sequels released on the DS, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Justice for All, and Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trials and Tribulations. Those were remastered, re-released on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and probably other consoles. The synopsis, you play as a defense attorney, Phoenix Wright, defending his clients against, usually it's always murder, going up against prosecutors. And the way the gameplay works is the gameplay is split into two sections. You have your investigations, where you poke around the crime scenes, talk to people, investigate around, trying to find evidence to prove your client is innocent. And then in the courtroom sections, you listen to witness testimony and use your found evidence to point out contradicting statements, and eventually discover the truth and get your client found, proclaimed not guilty. Noah, I want to know, I'm curious, Phoenix Wright is a name, just the name, that I have known for years. Like I always knew there was this like game called Phoenix Wright,
Yeah,
even not really knowing what it is. What?
It's this game.
Well, yeah, no, I know that. I'm just saying, like, for
Why was it
years,
so talked about?
I don't even know if it was. I don't even know how I knew about it. It was just a game I always knew about. I'm just
Yeah,
saying, it's like it's a game I always knew about, and then
it popped up on a lot of Watch Mojo top tens, maybe.
I don't know. I don't know. It's just I was just saying it's one of those games that for a long time I knew about it, even though like I had never played it and didn't know anyone who had ever played it. And so when the trilogy was released on PS4, or when I found out it had been released for, I think, at least a year or two at the point when I found out it was on PS4, I was like, man, I love courtroom dramas. I've heard of that character, so people must like him. I'm all for it. And you bought it. I think it was on sale. And we both, I cannot stress enough how absolutely obsessively enthralled we both were with this game at the same time. You started it and finished it a little bit before I did, but we were both playing this game so much. The courtroom drama aspect, I love. It's great. The puzzle of looking at the statements and pairing them with evidence to point out contradictions is awesome. I love this game so much. Noah.
Yeah, I absolutely love this game. It's like you said, uh, although there is not much gameplay here in these, you know, point and click puzzle type games, they can still prove to be some amazing games. On our podcast previously, we've talked about games like Grim Fandango, which is also light in gameplay, but still makes a huge impact. And that is done in this game through the writing. The story of Phoenix Wright and the cases that he deals with are very interesting and involve many twists and turns. It's a lot of fun trying to predict who did it and for what reason, because, usually there's more than one person who probably did it, and it ends up being none of them. The game is done so well. There's more than just the original three, and I plan on playing at least a few of them. Uh, Jaden has been watching the show. I plan on watching it. We've just dove headfirst into this IP.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time we were both so hooked on something like this. It is just so astounding to me, as you said, the story. The story and writing this game is some of the best I have ever seen. And it's insane to me how this game's main method of storytelling is courtroom, and it's still so enthralling and interesting. Um,
It is, and it's deep.
and it is so
There's
deep, and it's yeah,
backstories and
it's interconnected. Like all three of the games are very interconnected. Like you cannot play one without playing them in order, I think. And it's even like we both love this game so much that we would have no problem, and I would have loved to have done a full episode on the Phoenix Wright trilogy. But I felt like and Noah agreed that because we do go in depth with the stories of the main games of the episodes, I felt like it would be a disservice to do that with Phoenix Wright and have even one person who has not played the trilogy listen to it and get all of that just ruined for them.
yeah, that would be awful.
So it's
Um,
like, yeah,
yeah,
uh,
by the way, we heavily advertise this game.
1,000,000% buy this game, play it. It's just so good. I just, as you said, I'm watching the anime. I do love the anime. And there are more Phoenix Wright games, like at least I think like 6 or 7 more that we haven't played that I'm certainly going to look into play. I mean, we own 2 already because they were also released on PS4 in the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. And then there are at least 4 other games in the series that I am interested in getting and playing. Absolutely hooked me. Oh man, I love it. I love this series so much, man.
Objection. The next game.
Noah, that's Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney trilogy. Play it. If you take one thing away from, if you've listened to every episode of our podcast, Campbell, and you take one thing away, play this series. Noah, what is our next indie bit game?
All right, so the next indie bit is going to be A Way Out.
Okay, okay, okay. I had thought we'd do a full episode on that one, but I think for similar reasons to Ace Attorney,
Yeah,
we should.
that's why
It's
I
an indie.
brought it up.
All right, no, I'm all for that, man. I'm excited for that one.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'm excited to tell everybody what you did to me.
What? What are you talking about? Nothing happened. Anyway, that's oh man, that's the indie bit, guys. So before we do our wrap up, just want to say for anyone who maybe like downloaded this episode with their eyes closed, um, or something like that, and maybe hasn't noticed yet, we have new podcast art. We have a new the Super Gamer Bros podcast logo, very pretty, very well done logo, if I may say so myself. And I just wanted to give credit to the artist of that logo, Rodney Bolin. I found him, and well, he was recommended to me, and I just wanted to give him credit for that. Want to plug his Instagram. Oh, his Instagram is Bolin_customs, BOLIN, all lowercase _customs, CUSTOMS, all lowercase. Very good graphic designer. You can check out his Instagram. You can see a bunch of the work he has done. He is very good. Did this for us, obviously our logo that I am extremely happy with. Noah, you like it?
I do love it.
Yeah.
It's
So
a
yeah,
lot brighter than our last one.
that is true. So yeah, just want to give a thanks to Rodney Bolin for that, and check out his stuff if you need any
Thank you.
graphic. Yeah, check out his stuff if you need any graphic designing done. Anyway, plug over. Don't forget, new episodes every other Monday. Rate and subscribe. Tell us if you like our show, or tell us if you don't, and tell us why. Tell your friends and enemies about the podcast. You can follow our Instagram, the Super Gamer Bros, for updates on episodes or anything we do, really. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Super Gamer Bros, one word, capital S, capital G, capital B, period at the end, where we upload videos every Friday. Our most recent video being part 2 of our Legend of Korra game playthrough. I'm playing through, Noah is watching me struggle, and you can't download that game anymore, you can't buy it, so just watch our playthrough instead. No, any
I think
comment
you
on the
said
YouTube
that
stuff?
last
That's
podcast episode ending.
Yeah, that's when we last uploaded it.
That's
Well,
funny.
we uploaded part 1. Anyway, yeah, we'll see you guys next game.
Bye.